King Charles didn't just stop a royal procession, he exposed a power struggle that was never meant to be seen. The Garter procession was meant to unfold with flawless precision. Every footstep had been rehearsed, every position settled, every royal separated by rank and tradition. Then Camilla moved. She stepped toward the narrow space between William and Catherine, and King Charles abruptly raised his hand. The procession stopped, music faltered, faces turned. In that frozen instant, a private struggle over status became impossible for the monarchy to conceal. And just like that, everything cracked. What was supposed to be silent tradition suddenly felt loud, suspicious, almost staged, but it wasn't, because nothing about that moment was accidental. King Charles knew exactly what that space meant. That narrow gap between William and Catherine wasn't just physical, it was symbolic. It was the future, the next reign, the image of unity the monarchy has been desperately trying to protect. And yet, Camilla walked straight toward it like it belonged to her. Why? Because this wasn't confusion. This wasn't misplacement. This was a move. And William saw it instantly. There was no panic, no raised voice, no scene. Just a shift, a controlled, deliberate movement closer to Catherine, a silent refusal, a message without words: this line does not move. But Camilla didn't step back. That's when everything escalated. King Charles didn't hesitate. No consultation, no quiet correction, no backstage whisper. He raised his hand and stopped the entire procession in front of everyone. Guests, officials, cameras, history itself. And that decision, it wasn't emotional. It was calculated, because this wasn't just about where Camilla stood, it was about what she was trying to change. Moments earlier, everything had been aligned perfectly. William and Catherine placed together as a united force. A clear visual message of continuity, stability, control, but Camilla had been watching, waiting, focused not on her own position, but on theirs. That's the part no one wants to admit, because what kind of move is that? What kind of message does it send when the queen consort doesn't just accept her place, but tries to step into someone else's? And here's where it gets even more unsettling. This didn't start at the procession. This had already happened before, 12 days earlier, behind closed doors. No cameras, no public. Just a rehearsal inside St. George's Hall. Quiet, controlled, official, and that's where Camilla made the request. Not a suggestion, not a minor change, a direct demand. She wanted William and Catherine separated. Let that sink in. She didn't ask to walk closer to King Charles. She didn't ask for a better position. She asked to stand between them, to break that image, that unity, that message. Why would she do that? Because that image threatens her. Because as long as William and Catherine stand together, they represent something bigger than her role ever could. And William knew it immediately. My wife remains beside me. Simple words, but absolute. Final. No room for negotiation. No room for reinterpretation. Camilla pushed back. Of course she did. Asked whether it was preference or instruction. And William's answer? Both. That moment didn't just end a discussion, it started a conflict. Because when King Charles entered that room and saw the silence, the tension, the broken rhythm of control, he already knew something had gone wrong. But even then, he didn't fully shut it down. He preserved the original arrangement. Yes, but he didn't confront the motive. And that silence, that hesitation, it gave Camilla space to try again. Which is exactly what she did. A second walking plan, quietly requested, not officially approved. But somehow, it still appeared on the day of the procession. That's not coincidence. That's persistence. That's intent. So when Camilla stepped forward during the actual event, she wasn't testing the moment, she was executing a plan. And King Charles, he was ready this time, because by then he understood something he hadn't wanted to accept before. This wasn't about ceremony. This was about power. Real power, visible power, future power. And the moment Camilla tried to place herself between William and Catherine in public, it forced King Charles into a position he had been avoiding. He had to choose, not between people, but between meanings, protect his wife's dignity, or protect the structure of the monarchy itself. And in that single raised hand, he made his decision. But what no one saw, what no one heard, was what happened after. Because once those doors closed, once the procession resumed, once the cameras lost sight of them, the moment the doors closed, the silence wasn't calm, it was heavy. Pressured like something long buried was finally forced into the open. King Charles didn't wait. No ceremony, no soft tone. No royal cushioning of words. He made it clear the line had been crossed, and not just physically. Camilla hadn't simply stepped forward. Camilla had challenged the structure itself. And William was watching every second of it, not reacting loudly, not interrupting, just observing, calculating, because this wasn't just about what Camilla did, it was about how King Charles would respond when there was no audience to perform for. Catherine stood still, composed, but her silence wasn't passive. It was controlled, intentional, because she already knew something the others others were still catching up to this wasn't ending here. Camilla broke first. She didn't deny the movement. She didn't soften it. She defended it. Questioned why standing closer, why stepping forward, why adjusting the formation should be treated like a violation. But that's where everything shifted, because King Charles didn't argue about movement. He focused on meaning. He made it clear Camilla didn't move toward him. Camilla moved between William and Catherine. And that distinction, that changed everything. Because one is proximity, the other is disruption. And Catherine spoke, not loudly, not emotionally, but precisely. She didn't question the action, she questioned the intention behind it. Why separate a couple that represents the future of the crown? That question didn't need an answer. It exposed one. Camilla's response wasn't calm. It couldn't be, because the truth sitting underneath it was uncomfortable. This wasn't about ceremony. It was about visibility. Position, relevance, and William stepped in immediately. Not aggressively, not dramatically, but firmly. He shut down any attempt to redirect the blame toward Catherine, because this was never Catherine's move to defend. It was Camilla's move to explain. And then King Charles did something that changed the entire balance. He introduced the document, the unauthorized procession chart, physical proof that this wasn't a spontaneous decision. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was planned, prepared, attempted twice. Camilla didn't respond, and that silence said more than anything else could, because in that moment, William and Catherine understood something clearly. This had been building long before the procession ever started. And King Charles, he had already prepared for it. That sealed folder wasn't just precaution. It was a line, a written, signed, undeniable boundary that defined exactly where Camilla could stand and where she could not. And the consequences? They didn't wait. They started quietly, almost invisibly. But one by one, they stacked. Engagements removed, appearances adjusted, positions reassigned, not announced, not explained, but felt. Because power in the monarchy isn't always taken loudly. Sometimes it's reduced silently. And Camilla felt it immediately, not through confrontation, not through argument, but through absence, through the slow disappearance of moments where she once stood at the center. Meanwhile, William and Catherine didn't escalate. They didn't demand consequences. They didn't push further. And that restraint, that was strategic. Because by staying still, they forced King Charles to continue acting. And he did. A message to Catherine. Short, direct no declaration. Her place beside William was never in doubt. That wasn't reassurance. That was confirmation. And Camilla understood what it meant the moment she saw the changes around her. Because this wasn't temporary. This wasn't emotional fallout. This was structural. A boundary that had finally been enforced. But here's the part that lingers. Even after the public moment, even after the private confrontation, even after the silent consequences, no apology came. No reconciliation was displayed. Only adjustment. Only distance. Only acceptance of something that could no longer be negotiated. And when the next appearance came, the formation told the entire story without a single word. King Charles beside Camilla, William beside Catherine. No movement, no interruption, no attempt to cross the line again. Because now everyone understood exactly where it was. But the real question isn't what changed that day. It's what was already changing, long before that single step forced it into the open. And if one moment could expose this much tension, then how much more is still hidden, waiting for the next crack to reveal it?